All right, so hello everyone. I'm Mick Kennedy, and I'm going to be sharing a few poems with you. I want to thank Rebecca Akers and the Hardin County Public Library for putting together this Poetry Month celebration, as well as Robert Villanueva, who also uh, collected all of us readers to share some of our work. I guess I should go ahead and say that parental discretion is advised in some cases. Um, so there's that. I chose some poems today, basically to try to deliver a theme of artists and writers who have influenced me to some degree through the years, as well as a couple of poems that occurred while I'm driving. I do a lot of thinking about writing and poems while I'm driving, and sometimes that just kind of spills out. And that section of my reading is kind of prefaced by a sestina written for Jack Kerouac. So going to begin with something pretty simple here. Gertrude Stein is somebody that I've always really admired. And walking around in Toledo one day, there were very small trees that dotted the sidewalk, and I'm sure they're probably very large now, but I saw one tree with 4 or 5 finches flitting about, and this happened. Branches bare. Finch, 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 and a tree. My apologies to thee, Gertrude, for this theft, but no one could wand words quite like you. So that's something that's pretty easy, short and sweet. The next poem is for someone who really just blew my mind away, even more than Gertrude, if you can believe that. Frank Stanford, from his book titled The Battlefield Where the Moon Says I Love You, which I read in grad school. And this is The Moon Still Says I Love You for Frank Stanford. Is that the way it is? 3 stars from a 32 burning right down your boulevard, spray paint sizzling into styrofoam. What would you ask of us? Why did we need to know your hair isn't so different than blue jay feather curling in flames? I would have loved to touch your elbow as those 10 fingers full of gibbous moons clacked the keys onto the end of the line. Did you hear the air crack open, parcels washing up against the white? Or did forever begin with a guy bob wired to a makeshift mast afloat on the Mississippi? So that last little allusion there is from his book, which is based primarily on his experiences growing up in Louisiana. The book's fabulous. It's one long poem. It's 800 pages of one poem without punctuation, so it's pretty impressive for a number of reasons. Then I'll shift to a poem for Frank O'Hara, who I was also reading in grad school at the University of Toledo. And they have they had. I'm not sure what it's like now, but the Toledo Art Museum was just fabulous when I was there. And they had a section on abstract expressionists, which I studied a little bit while I was in grad school, and have just fallen in love with all those men and women who just really turn your mind around and make you think of reality. And there happened to be a portrait uh, of Frank O'Hara done by an artist last name Porter, that was in that museum around those other great artists. Um, and so this kind of happened. Something about sardines for Frank O'Hara. You bled asphalt rhapsodies between bites of art news and chicken salad sandwiches while gauzy eyes bobbed on Manhattan streets, rain-washed faces, black and gray petals, and from Porter's pastel sofa in Toledo's museum watched me stride among landscapes of the mind and worn-out loafers. Frank, I lean into your shadows to pick up my ghost. Let it be a yoke, else hang me with a tambourine. Blue sky stuck in keyholes, dragonfly flits on a match head, tricycles dangle in porcupine tree quills. Let's pull on our caffeine pajamas. We're just syntax junkies, and each word feels like a Bonaparte. So this poem not only influenced by the artwork, but also by a poem by Frank, why I decided not to be a painter. And it talks about sardines in there. So a little bit of obscurity there, but something to look up because it's really fascinating. Which will move us to a poem based on Jackson Pollock's Eyes in Heat, another artist that I really love, hold close. So this is after Jackson Pollock's Eyes in Heat. We search for those eyes to meet us as we all need, and you tease us, making spectacle of our moles, turn us round in cerebral pirouettes. Oh, it's easy for you to be so objective, reduced mankind to a topography of each nerve's edge, to eddies and runoff hues, supposedly to catch a monumental bang, a gospel, the first calculus. You came too close, saw just enough to last a life, a mass of color, space, time, as we construed your vision divine. Ensnared in the capillary maze of our chi, you held on tight, not wanting to let go. And so moving from abstraction to perhaps more abstraction, this is Her Without a Face, that was influenced by reading about Braque and Picasso, and looking at their images, their paintings. And George Braque said, and this is the epigram, the things that Picasso and I said to one another during those years will never be said again. And even if they were, no one would understand them anymore. It was being like roped together on a mountain. I am angle, am distinct rotation of labrum, to pull up socks, to tie shoelaces of lavender and equinox. Here, this violin, a chord to climb, fettered way up and down. The mind a darker tinge, a layer to define sunset. Here, this line is a motor car driving from autumn light through window shade. A song's district in our throats. Is this a burly home? And so we move now into a poem called 316 and a half Osborne Street, where I stay for most of my college days at Indiana State. And biographical, but it does have some artistic allusions, one to Van Gogh and one to the Beatles. So 316 and a half Osborne Street. Saturday turns to oval moon over State Farm marquee framed in a window pane. College mates who helped roll our apartment walls Bosch pair between drinks, lady fingers, and handfuls of muddy buddies gone a few hours. After cleaning up clinks of dishes in the sink and a trash can filled up, you move on to the bedroom, flick off hallway lights. I ink an 18-syllable strain of the disease that would end us. The white album reverbs in the dining room, our Maine Coon Ezra on my shoulders like a stole, and a Kenworth Jake breaks the Holman and 41st stop. That pose of yours at Destin, just out of the water, a 50 siren, still straightens my spine. Snores drift under street hum as I lean against God for a verb. Above the table, crows rise from ore. Van Gogh's squally wheat field, muddied cart paths push the horizon, blue and frightful. So then the next couple will be foreign poems. Edna St. Vincent Millay is certainly somebody that I return to frequently. And this is to Edna, the epigram. I am glad that I paid so little attention to good advice. Had I abided by it, I might have been saved from some of my most valuable mistakes. Under Dickinson's inkwell weight, tremors distress every typed letter. The quasar voice finally located across the Atlantic next to a station under a tree. A woman filled with 9 sisters' wolves, candle lit on both ends. And what is this small peacock? A screech, a vine laden with grapes, the sky happily bends. Who wouldn't seize that tiny moment? But the longitude left between left and right palm, each heart line always led to torment, which returned in every line's full throat. You know you finally made it when Johnny Cash covers one of your sonnets. So if we didn't catch that, that was a sonnet. And then we turn to the Kerouac poem. This was a sestina challenge for myself. Just thinking about Kerouac, having read a little bit of his work, wasn't a big fan of his per se, but always enjoyed the idea of the freedom of the road and all that kind of business. So this is Kerouac wakes up hungover by the side of the road, and it is a sestina. Sun crawls up windshield spine, alls into skin. Empty bottles tell me we weren't sober. Memory nurses last night's thin fragments while a reflection from the rear view singes lost newts clumped on the shoulder. Clouds devour mid-morning light. Prayers are not parachutes. No, hymns will not save us like parachutes would if we dove out of a Cessna's door. Skin rippling, the Sahara of the mind devours any attempt at rescue. Being sober cannot salvage this arc either. Words singed into paper, episodes, mere fragments embellished, fucking little embalmed fragments without a way, the road a parachute. Gravel or pavement vanishing point, singed, miraged by heat, sweat beads shirk our skin. Neil sleeps shirtless, can never be sober, and my gut trembles. I could devour a bison, even its dirty ass, devour it all, horns, hump, hooves, ground to fragments, my taste buds swollen like apricots, sober or not. One bottle, not a parachute big enough to slow the rot of his or her skin, or mine. Maybe just a bit of thigh singed. Build a nice little fire over there. Singe Neil's, where that one gives me trouble. Devour each small chunk cut out with buck knife sand skin, but that might make the flavor of fragments, or a big barbecue. Tie the stump with parachute cord, or just toss everything in the fire. Sober or not, what fucking difference? Sober as state of mind, another road just singed with different tongues, smaller parachutes, different martyrs who want to devour non-believers, show them what tiny fragments their lives are, while fire and arrows kiss their skin. I'll snake off my skin, shed it right now, sober. Never another fragment, no more singed words to devour. Where's that fucking parachute? So that's a driving poem per se, although we were stopped at the shoulder of the road. This one is biographical. I was going to Spalding University's poetry workshop. It was Halloween. I parked my car in the wrong location and came out the next day, and it had been broken into, and I tried to drive it home, and it didn't make it. The title is Broke Dick. That's a euphemism that people from where I'm from will use to explain that their car is not functional. Broke Dick for Michael. At Lebanon Junction, no one cares that All Saints' Eve my Cavalier's window is smashed in. Street people sifted plunder for trade. Hood popped, copped the battery for a pint of old granddad, or some woola, but cracked the distributor cap. Sparks arced all over the motor. No one in Lebanon Junction cares about poetry, which took me to the city, with obituaries to read and land sell-offs, all of those paisley lotus patchwork sundresses, auctions and serenades of children, spent piston rings, church apostles and grease burns marking every sunset. The wait for a one-ton hauler is longer at Lebanon Junction than Sun Tea or the Chupacabra song. Never got a coffee or tangled hymns in trees. Those blokes wrought what they wanted. Wrench right what is wrong. This poem only cost me 25 Hamiltons. And then finally, another, as I promised, driving song of sorts. This is Home. Coyote was stricken and tossed to the side of the road, and each day I passed and in passing noticed more decay, and so this spoke to me in this way. Coyote Blues. A puddle of color wheel brown, outline of the song sung heard in nearby trees, in the passing car's gush, your tongue consomme of untruths for buzzards, entrails, and iffy stew. Mr. Trickster, did you shed your pelt, plant a bird in a desert dune, deal out grifted meat, sinew and marrow for kin grunting under sycamore trees? Eyes plucked and juggled up into a night-woven rug of ochre horses slung over every feet of passerby, a story tangled in moonlit branches. 7 more lives your favorite girl gave you round 2 more reservoirs, over 12 fences, through a holler-wide thicket. but here, scissored between headlights, running down the only life we might want to know, shadowing odors, lapping at the stars, panting a thunderstorm. In the thistle just off the road, we wait with lanterns to see which shape you might take next. So that's it. Thank you all very much for this opportunity. Always want to plug the creative writing that is going on here in the heartland of Kentucky. So let's all keep it up, and happy Poetry Month. Thank you.